UEFA have been busy this week and they've made some important announcements that we need to discuss. Firstly, they're introducing some changes to the format of the Nations League, which is really going to spice up future tournaments. Secondly, UEFA have been discussing the possibility of increasing the Euros from 24 teams to 32. And finally, the semi-finalists of this year's Nation League have been drawn, those games taking place in June. Stick around to find out who's playing who, and if you haven't subscribed already, then please make sure you do. With that all said, let's get into it. Let's have a brief history lesson on what the Nations League is. The UEFA Nations League was introduced in 2018. The tournament consists of 4 leagues, A, B, C and D, with teams being promoted and relegated based on their results. And the top teams in League A compete in the final tournament to determine who is the Nations League winner. More on that later. The competition was created as a replacement for all the international friendlies that we used to have in between tournaments and qualifiers. UEFA wanted to promote more meaningful and attractive games whilst giving everyone the opportunity to qualify for major tournaments. And although it's not perfect at the moment, the Nations League is definitely better than what we had before. The league format means that teams are playing against nations which are a similar level to them, so the games are much more competitive. And it gives another pathway for the smaller nations to qualify for the Euros. Well, that all sounds great, so what are they changing? Well, UEFA recognises the big gap between the final league games in November to June where we play the Nations League finals. And they've decided to address this problem by adding a new knockout tournament. Now, the way this works is the League A winners and runners-up will play in a quarter-final to see who gets through to June's semi-final. And the teams that finish third in League A will play the teams who finish second in League B in a playoff match. And that will determine who's promoted and who's relegated. And the same playoff match will happen between teams that finish third in Group B and teams that finish second in Group C. So these are essentially home and away promotion/relegation playoffs. Now, does this mean we'll have more international football? No, it doesn't. In order to add these extra Nations League games, UEFA decided to reduce the group size in the Euro and World Cup qualifiers. Again, an idea which means that these games should be more meaningful and competitive, whilst not increasing the number of games overall. I think it's a good idea. The Nations League was introduced to remove meaningless games, and there is a gap in that March period where we still have these international friendlies which are a bit pointless. So by all means, add a playoff in there, add a quarter-final. I'd much rather see that than a pointless 4-0-0 friendly. I have seen some comments out there sort of criticising UEFA and saying this is a bit of a money grab. I don't think that's the case. I don't really understand that comment, to be honest with you. I think UEFA have just recognised the gap in the Nations League and they've taken steps to improve it. I think it's a good move. Moving on. UEFA have also been discussing a possible increase in the Euros tournament from 24 teams to 32. But I'm pleased to say it was a short conversation and they are sticking with 24 teams. A decision that I 100% agree with. You cannot in one breath be talking about more meaningful games and more competitive games and then at the same time say that 60% of your teams are going to qualify for the Euros. It would just be a massive contradiction if UEFA came out with that change. I can understand why it was being discussed. I mean, 32 teams in a tournament is probably the optimal number, as we see in the World Cup and the Champions League. 8 groups of 4, perfect. But there's definitely no need to increase it for the Euros. And finally, for this year's Nation League, the draw has been done for the semi-finalists. We have Netherlands versus Croatia and Spain versus Italy. Those games will be taking place on the 14th and 15th of June, with the final taking place on Sunday the 18th of June. All these games will be held in the Netherlands, definitely one for your calendars and one to look forward to. And that's the latest from the UEFA conference that took place this week. Some interesting changes, good decisions in my opinions. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Please make sure you do like, and if like me you're passionate about international football, then please subscribe to the channel. I upload videos regularly talking about future tournaments and which teams I think are going to qualify. So make sure you like and subscribe. Leave some comments as well, let me know what you think of this video, and I'll speak to you soon.